I have wanted to engage with Pretender on a first-time consultation with all of you since I got wind of the name and the narrative, which I have previewed the lyrics in advance to this, and I'll tell you, it's immediately pitching a connection. Though, it's not my only point of, informed engagement with the Day We Left Earth. Some of you might recognize the name if you frequent my work, and that I have spotlighted them on several occasions now, dating all the way back to the Dead by April collab for Wasteland and on. As part of this the debut album from the Day We Left Earth, in fact, of which I believe this is rounding out the full release. It's been quite the collection, and all the pieces that are recognized on the record we have humored in advance together in previous encounters. I've really taken a liking to, not a surprise, again, of European metal at all. Some of you know, again, that's truthful admiration for how much time we spend here, but of Scandinavian origin, an emerging name within the European metal space, and one that definitely deserves a greater degree of recognition. I'm hoping that perhaps some of you are maybe going to discover a pitching of roots through this, that you've not yet welcomed the graces of, I think, quite an apt name in the metal field. One that deserves to grow, and one that I don't want to speak for you, because music is first and foremost a subjective experience, but I think it's a name that you will come to remember, whether it be on any previous entries or Pretender. Again, this one particularly, and all the pieces so far that we've recognized, really to credit any artist, and no exception, of course, to The Day We Left Earth, I've really liked on many return listens. And those pieces, for whatever extent they, whatever theme they're speaking to, they do reach me, they pierce, they're well told, very articulate, and the musical side to the pieces with the vocals involved, especially the vocals, the match between clean and unclean. The cleans really shine in terms of the higher pitch raises. I forget the name of their frontman at the moment, but he's done a great job. The Day We Left Earth has boasted some very impressive work, but Pretender, I think, on name, the name is perfect for this, Pretender. And the lyrical survey, at least by my interpretation, though again, as I understand from exchanges with the group, The Day We Left Earth does write their songs in a broad sense. This one's very directed, though. I can already imagine multiple points of appeal of where this is mapped to in terms of viewer interpretation. We might have common themes in our histories and experiences, whether recent or past, but they might take on varying paths. Nothing's ever an exact parallel, in our life stories. I think The Day We Left Earth brilliantly, and many other groups do this too, write their lyrics with intention to speak to a variety of aspects and paths of life, potential destinations that we might go into after the song plays out. But seeing again how the potentiality of how it connects to me, it's an immediate draw. Besides, again, my Day We Left Earth familiarity, my promise to all of you to maintain an open door. But Pretender, I've hated to engage with. As well, it's somewhat fresh, because as I understand, and I don't know this for sure, going forward with The Day We Left Earth, what we've experienced in the past, again, when I say proficient vocals on the unclean side specifically, the previous pieces we've entertained have included the credit, for the most part, again, maybe there are some pieces that vary from this. Dead on Arrival was one such example, because it was all entirely clean. But other pieces of past recognition have featured the unclean vocal capabilities, and they're quite incredible, of Mike, who might be well known now by Amaranth. And that's quite the gig to get, and for... He's really shined there. I knew he would. Day We Left Earth, it's like that doesn't often happen in terms of my venture down European metal of, I actually know this name. So when he was announced of Amaranth, I'm like, I know this guy, and he's a perfect shoes to fill GG6's boots. Mike's done so well there. But Mike's schedule is already, wrapped in Amaranth and Free Ever groups, Degraded, Paralydium, Engal, all of which of the latest Free I mentioned I'm looking to inquire on. I've already got a selection mapped out as part of Phase 2. In fact, I don't know when we'll get to those, but I'm looking keenly on those dates. Anyway, his schedule's strapped, right? And Amaranth, again, is quite the gig to get. I didn't get full confirmation on this, if maybe he's going to be involved in the future, or if, I forget her name at the moment, but Sylvia, the unclean vocalist approaching Day We Left Earth now with Pretender, if she's taking over the role. And I welcome clarification down below if you're more informed on what the future's going to look like in that respect. But whoever it is taking the role of The Day We Left Earth's unclean, whether it's what we've heard so far from Mike or Sylvia, I'm basing this on that light Instagram teaser of her vocals, which also is a bit of a lure with this one. I have really been excited to engage with this, and I think Sylvia is also going to shine with Pretender and going to make this quite a memorable piece. But again, just on its own standing, it's already pitched itself well. Name, lyrics, Day We Left Earth familiarity, and the promise of proficient uncleans, and I'm sure cleans. Well, yes, proficient cleans. I have heard Martin, I think it's Martin. Again, I forget exactly at the moment, but I have seen a clip of him singing this too. So I have a bit of a window going in. But the song entirely is a fresh encounter that you and I are going to enjoy together. Best way to enjoy music, I think, in a collaborative respect. And for The Day We Left Earth, I've really been impressed with their work. I hope you are too if you're walking in with new eyes. I think you'll really like this one. Just on temptation. Let's witness it together.
Going round and round in circles.
Draw an opener, a bit of like a ballad mixture, and this one is going to dip a bit of a harder foot in later. Takes its time. See? There's the twist. This is too true. Perfect. Each agent in the song shines.
I can't forget, because there's nothing left. I couldn't face the truth, ignore the pain in my chest. Now the demon's fled, but I am still.
Here she goes. Talk about rolling out the red carpet. Welcome indeed, Sylvia. Ooh, listen. This is fantastic. Really built well. I was curious if we would just have 2 or 3 choruses. Again, I've heard this bit before. Final rap. I love it. I knew I would. I have nothing but compliments for that. By the way, as I was saying with Mike, same respect, I forgot to mention this, to Sylvia. I have, in fact, because again of that promise of that clip I saw, which you just saw too. I love being able to work that in. Because that's, again, the pitch that was technically the first introduction I had to Sylvia. I said as much of a time, welcome to the band, but different wording. I made it even more so now, just witnessing that in context. Again, like I said as well, the intermixed splices and jumps between clean and unclean. That showcase, though, really worked. Like Mike, and looking at some of what I do oftentimes for different new artist discoveries, I will use one collaborative or one band someone's been with to pitch routes and network for myself in terms of different group discoveries. And like I was saying, but I didn't mention this, Sylvia's going to get the same respect. I don't know when that day will be, but I'm looking forward to it. And I would say with her involvement, if this is true going forward of The Day We Left Earth, she's a great fit. Those unclean shine so well. The variance to pitch, like I said, just that's what I meant by my fluctuating hands. The lower that, oh my gosh, every time I've heard that clip too, it just, that line sinks in. Where is it? I am the rage, the fire and the flames. That pitch variance going from high to low with the unclean, it really clicks. Narratively though, I first and foremost gravitate, if you want like at first, besides, what I gravitate to musically. If you're speaking on lyrics and concepts, I look for songs about toxic relationships and personal recovery. This is so, like, this is, I didn't outsource responsibility to anybody, including the day we left Earth, to, hey, write my biography, but I feel like I'm written here. This is so much of my life captured so poignantly. And again, toxic relationships, when we speak to that, might appeal to different extents in how they materialize, right? For some people, that might be in a romantic sense. Others, like myself, it might be familial, platonic. Narratively, this is described, again, like I said, so well. I go to war with myself. I never said it would be easy to go where there's nothing left. I shed my skin. I tried to be someone else. I fought so long I don't know who I am. I've said lightly before in my own personal history, I come from years, over 2 decades, in fact, of being the uninformed victim of emotional, psychological, and verbally abusive dynamics. Specifically, when I say that, just to clear the record so there's no assumptions, I consider myself fortunate that in my life I was never victimized by physical or sexual abuse when so many other people are. But it was strictly for me, just again, so everybody's on the same page as me and there's not rumors flying about emotional, psychological, verbal. That's what I lived through. And that's tragically such a common hell in our world today for so many people. In setting, it's really interesting when I look at this song and I consider myself in the lyrics. And again, I know it wasn't necessarily written with my life in mind, but it's too specifically my story that I can't help but see myself in it. I continue to return to that chorus. Or later verses. Grown to hate the part you made me play. I had the choice to stay away. Again, it's too on point. It's like somebody, I don't remember giving anybody a window into my life this openly. It's not a story that I share. Most people in my life don't know. In fact, I've been the opposite of candid with really anybody, quite jaded. And even still to this day, not in any way that I want to be. I used to be, as a kid, I was an open book. It's interesting to now look about 26 years later and how I am such a different person. And that is first and foremost molded by environment and by the effect of abuse. Too many of us who've dealt with abuse know the reality of the injustice that we live with in the stories that we don't feel we're allowed to share, that we want to. We go in, each other's lives and people ask you questions and you can't be honest. I tell you, nothing breaks you like that. The sources to where it came through for me were very interesting. I don't remember if this was indicated by the group. Again, I'm remembering maybe some thoughts on where certain pieces were directed, at least by artist inspiration. There was mention of one of these songs hitting on the topic of religion or church. I don't know if Pretender is that. I see potentiality in the lyrics. And if that, maybe again though, I'm just reading way too much into this. Because as I've said, the song in narrative form is just way too exact for me to not notice the parallel. And it's interesting, I understand that I am not a stereotypical person, that my story puts me in the space of being an anomaly. Though maybe there's advantage to that because you get to see things that others might not. And you get to understand the realities of the way you get to see people being human beings, first and foremost, and all the ugliness that can come with that. Even in the most seemingly hospitable of settings, which in reality might not be. Not always. There's plenty of exceptions, even where I'm at now, but I consider, my own history. Again, not going too far into detail on this, but where abuse materialized for me, or the emotional side to it, namely. It's really interesting because the way abuse affects me, there were 2 strands to it, again, namely from 2 outlets, one of which I see the effects in how I've molded as an individual and as a man. What, again, the song speaks to, my identity, that sense of disassociation from the self that you're capable of being and were created to be versus who or how you've morphed because of the actions and the words of other people and behavior that was out of your control. That's more so the psychological end, but then the other outlet of where it hit for me, it's very interesting. I might be a seeming a contradiction that I maintain open disclosure and affirmation and my sense of faith being a Christian, since I was a kid. And yet I say out of all the scars in my life, the worst ones I received were at the hands of Christians. And when I speak of abuse dynamics, that was specifically emotional. I fought so long I don't know who I am. And for some, love is a selective gift. And some of us are not allowed to receive that, even though everybody else is. I could go into detail, I'm not going to yet. I'm still sorting through it after how many years I left. Again, I don't know if Pretender's pointing to this. I see potentiality that it could be. And maybe not as directly as I'm understanding the lyrics for myself, but I've lived a very interesting life where I've seen not just the good and the bad of humanity. Human beings are human beings, right? We all have our moments. But I've seen the cruelty that can even be awarded to people even in the most hospitable of settings, and how damaging that is. When you judge settings and environments and people groups, or to be more specific, congregations, by stereotype. I know it seems bizarre probably for some of you that I still am quite open about my faith, because it's not my faith that abandoned me or God, it's people. Certain people did not know, at least when I was around them, how to express the attitude of what a Christian is expected to portray. We'll leave it like that. And the consequence of their, which I refuse now to, and I did this all the time when I was a teenager, what I blamed as personal deficiencies that I tried way too much than I should to self-correct when they were never deficiencies to begin with. For example, my love of metal music. You do not know how often I was judged for that. Believe me, it was continual. I don't apologize for it now. I used to, even though the reality is I never should have had to, because like I've said so many times on different occasions, I turned to metal music because of the open honesty, like the day we left Earth. Music was there for me when people, specifically some Christians, were not. And when I was at my most broken positions in life emotionally, I needed a hand up. And some people were unwilling to give that. And instead, I received the exact opposite of what now, 5 years later after all this, actually, technically, it's a little more than 5. I'm still processing the level of damage that I endured, and it's going to be probably an exhaustive battle for the rest of my life. Those choruses again sink in. I can't shake that line. I shed my skin. I tried to be someone else. I did. I know I'm only giving you a semblance of a window into what there's much more I could say to that line specifically when I think of my church experiences. And where one should never receive anything in the way of abusive behavior, or to be more specific, secondhand abuse, emotional bullying, being lied about, publicly humiliated in front of other people, having to paste on a face and pretend like, oh, how dare I be so sensitive? How dare I feel? Screw my emotions. I should just, pretend everything's fine. I should just take it like a man. Just bear those burdens, right? Yeah. It's not worth all the self-hatred that I had to live through for many years. And I'm still reeling from. Anyway, I shed my skin. I tried to be someone else. Damn it, I did. It wasn't my fault. And that's been the hardest truth to admit, but it's the most honest and freeing one. It was never my fault. Anyway, I love the number. I thought it'd be great. It's even better. And not just, again, speaking on narrative. I've gone into detail far more than I'm sure. Again, maybe you saw things to yourself that I'm not necessarily extracting. Again, music is open to interpretation. I see an allowment for this directly with The Day We Left Earth, that maybe you see different paths on what I'm exploring. If so, feel free to, if you wish to, share any down below. But maybe we can have at least, maybe things that even I'm not noticing, I'll be able to see from what you say. But again, if you choose to offer that, of course, I'll leave that to your determination. It's scripted very well. Musically, perfect. Same energy I love from The Day We Left Earth. And as the arrival with not only, again, proficient clean vocals expectantly, but Sylvia's unclean. That whole section is great. Again, I immediately want to go back and re-listen to it. It's a perfect song, great addition to the album. Fantastic fanfare to The Day We Left Earth. Again, hopefully this one will catch more eyes. I think Pretender, as a number, has immediate potential too. Perfectly scripted musical design. It's a great song. Loved humoring it with you. It lived up in every way to what I hoped it would. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.